did probably be okay with it. You want to see that? If we can, do that. Like,
You got water in it.
great.
Session from 5 p.m. to approximately 5:45 on personnel issues. I'm sorry, 6:45, not 5:45, on personnel issues. Everybody had a chance to look at the work session agenda items. Does anybody have any questions on those? Anybody that's virtual, do you have any questions on any of the items before we start the regular meeting? No response? Okay, with that, we'll close the work session and we will start
Would want to make add a motion for the regular agenda to rescind the prior furlough motion that was made at the prior meeting.
we will add that to the regular agenda.
Add that to the regular agenda. I could prepare the language for that.
Okay, we got a few minutes, if you can do that for us.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that.
Okay.
Don't turn it over. Yeah. We might have to turn it over. Or try to turn it over. It's a good week. I don't know how far it is. Yeah, I did. I don't know our face anyway. It might be right with them shutting their lights off. This light's noisy. Yeah, that's why.
In there, John?
What's that?
Oh. Mr. Lake just asked me about the light making a noise. Said he might want it off.
That might be the lights. That's that, we still have that board, light board.
Yeah.
It's not actually, it's not the sound system, it's the lights.
Okay.
You see if we can get rid of that.
That's good.
There we go.
I think it was right higher than yeah, I think May, you might have some stuff on the phone.
You still have the sound on 3, right? It's still, okay.
I haven't touched it.
We haven't said anything.
I know, I wondered that too, I haven't heard him say it.
They're all on mute except for Mr. Granado. I just didn't hear him, so I didn't know. So.
Yeah, they were working, I could hear them.
Yeah, I mean, we're having a conversation.
Yeah,
So.
I haven't touched anything, so hopefully they're still on there.
We'll find out.
See if you can get somebody to talk, you know, it's working. Should be working though.
One of you guys are going to say something, just make sure we get sound again, please. Okay.
Okay, working.
Hi Kevin, it's Marlene, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
It's working.
Happy Saturday, so you should be able to see.
Feeling that long, Mark,
A little bit, John.
Okay.
Thank you.
You hear me, Kevin?
Yes?
Kevin Jones?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Okay, we officially adjourn the work session. And we will resume here in a few minutes with the regular board meeting.
Just ask that members of the audience participate in safe practices as far as masks and everything. Thank you. 6 feet apart is self-regulated. Thank you.
Iris on this a little more.
I plan to give you more light, but that's,
And it was making noise.
till we get the other board back, our board back. That's our problem. Jamie?
All my gang stuff.
Thought it was.
Need a purse.
It's kind of like Halloween. Can't tell who was who. Helping any?
No. Nope. I can make it darker.
Don't need that.
Nope.
I'm gonna have to get a hold of Adam and see whether the board approved or even getting done in that board, maybe get the two boards switched and changed over. Have to ask Maureen. I think that's been done, I think. I'm not 100% sure.
Taking 12 out of 3.
Yeah, Rich. Too bad.
I reach. Are you reach?
6 feet apart.
Even though we're married?
Yep.
Are you better read? There should be more. You too. It's 7 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. Roll call.
Mr. Bernardo? Mr. Marshman? Mr. Blake?
Here.
Mr. Martray? Mr. Martucci?
Here.
Mr. Rondell? Mr. Pansella?
Here.
Mrs. Stangston? Here. And Mr. O'Hara?
Here. We stand for one sides and pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We were in executive session from 5 p.m. to approximately 6:45 for personnel issues. With that, make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
So moved.
Motion second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. I make a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Make a motion to pay the general and federal funds bill. Motion is second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Make a motion to pay the cafeteria fund bills. Motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. We have no items for public comment tonight. Moving to athletics, please.
Basketball, to advertise for fall sports supplies and equipment, I so move.
Motion second, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Martray, do you have anything? Mr. Lake?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Evans?
Nothing, thank you. Mr. Grossman, are people still on?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Moving to bills and grounds, please.
Facilities utilization requests in accordance with policy 707. American Red Cross is requesting to use Springfield Clifford Benedict's Elementary School for a blood drive May 19, 2020, 12 noon to 7 p.m. That will be by appointment only, and it will be only used at the gym. We will have a certain way for everyone to come in and out, and I so move.
Motion second, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Martray, do you have that? Mrs. Sangston? Mr. Boggs? Mr. Kirsch? That's all I have.
Thank you. Moving to Carnegie Free Library, Mr. Horstman. Mr. Martucci, do you have anything?
We have no agenda items this time. Mr. Panzola.
Nothing, thank you.
It's all Mr. Ray, thank you.
Thank you. Moving to Career and Technical Center, Mr. Lake, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Electronic signatures. Request approval of resolution to authorize Joseph Barrett to sign any and all documents on behalf of the Collinsville Area School District for the Pennsylvania Department of Education. And I so move.
Motion is second, all in favor? Question.
What do these pertain to? Are these just stuff that we have every year, or are these new things that will be added?
this is an annual event, and these are items for PE that are submitted.
This is for the electronic stamp, right?
Correct.
Just for the CTC?
Yeah, because that's more of a designation I'm already, I'm recorded under both, for both entities, because we have two different entities, two AEI members. It's just memorialized that.
Shouldn't it say CTC in the paragraph?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you can do that, it's all right with the board, we'll go ahead and just add for the Career and Technical Center for this electronic. I think, like Mr. Bradley said, he does this for the, down here, so we'll just do it for the Career and Technical Center too. Is that all right? Is that all right with everybody?
Yeah, I should think the center is in the,
Okay. Mr. Martucci, you have anything?
I'll have this, wait, we have to take a vote, please.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. We have a motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Martucci, you have anything? Mr. Montiel? Mr. James? That's all right.
I have one thing there, Mr. Lloyd. I heard the electronic signatures, Mr. Panzella. This is Mr. Bradley signing on behalf of the Career and Technical Center, mainly for our veterans grant funding, the VLAD grant, and any other equipment grants we may apply for through the Department of Labor and Industry. So basically, we just renew that resolution every year. That's all I have, Kevin, thanks.
Thank you.
Moving to curriculum. Mr. Bernal, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Do you have anything on curriculum?
There's no motion for the group. I'll go through the committee for that, then I have any questions. Mr. Monjo, do you have anything to add? Mr. Sampson, anything to add?
No, nobody here. Nobody has anything to add, Mr. Coleman.
Dr. Jacob.
Dr. Jacob, are you there?
Nothing to add, actually.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ronaldo, cyber, please.
Okay, under cyber, there is no action item, but I'd like to report to the board that the state is paying for all their districts in the state of Pennsylvania for access to Edgenuity and Odyssey Ware, which is what we use for our solar program. And since this is being paid for by the state government, I was wondering if we were going to, as a district, request a prorated adjustment to the payment that we give to Seneca Valley for the same software that we use in solar. So it's a question.
My opinion is we already had a signed agreement with Seneca Valley, so no. But we did notify Seneca Valley of the not renewing the contract.
All right, thank you. That's all I have. Mr. Monjo, anything in curriculum? Further? Mr. Arnett, that's all we have.
Thank you. Moving to federal programs, Mr. Martucci, please.
Thank you, Mr. O'Malley. We have no agenda items at this time. Ms. Stanks, do you have anything? Mr. Marshall? Dr. Jacob, do you have anything to add?
No, I don't, thank you.
Thank you, that's all, Mr. O'Malley.
Thank you. Moving to finance, Mr. Mongeau. I'll take it then. Is Mr. McShay here today?
He's online.
Oh, he's online. Mr. John McShay, I'll turn it over to you for a bond market update.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me okay? Is this a good connection?
Yep, sounds good.
Great. I hope everybody's healthy coming into this meeting. It's a very unique time in the bond market, and it just so happens outside of what the coronavirus is doing to the school districts and the U.S. in general. We have been talking to your administration. We're constantly updating administration on your bond portfolio. and how interest rates in the current market could affect not only the budgets moving forward, but if there are any chances to refund outstanding debt. In the district scenario, they have two issues that will be coverable in the fall of this year. And even based on prior to coronavirus, there were some interest rate savings from moving those bonds off market, replacing with new bonds at a lower interest rate. In the presentation, I put together a presentation. I don't know if Marlene was able to get that out to everybody or not. Do you have that in front of you?
Yes, we have it.
On page 2 of that presentation, this is the page that I would like to bring to the board. It's a complete outline of your debt portfolio. You can see each issue listed individually, starting with the 2011 QZAB, all the way down to the transactions we completed last year in 2019. Going across, you can see principal outstanding purpose, interest rates associated with that, final maturity, and then the call date. Looking at interest rates, you can see the majority of your bond portfolio has benefited from lower interest rates for the past 3 years. And your highest interest rate currently outstanding on any debt is your 2013, and it's at 3.3% on the long end. And that's actually, I think I said 15 before, it's actually the 2013, started talking about refunding, both the 13s and 13As. We can replace that in the current market with rates that are substantially lower, and that would be the goal and moving forward. On those two issues, you can see that you've taken advantage, if you get on each one of these issues. The 2014 Bs go away this year, 2017, you make your final payment this year. Then after that, the only outstanding issues after 13 through 19 that you refunded, and then the QZABs are 0% interest rate. So within the last year, including this initial refunding, you will have locked in some of the lowest rates seen in the past 40 years. Now look at the coronavirus down on page 4. We actually, it's actually the tale of the two cities here. Up until early March, we hit an all-time low in the municipal bond market, and then what happened was the complete credit freeze. Issuers that wanted to come to the market couldn't. They had no ability. There was no more buyers. Buyers were always cash. And we're talking about the large buyers, the pension funds, the mutual funds. So there was a disconnect in the municipal bond market, and even if everything you heard from the Treasury was lowering interest rates, the Fed had rates at an all-time low, and there was even a point where Treasury rates went negative. Well, all this was going on, municipal rates actually went higher. And if you look at that graph on the bottom right-hand side, or the bottom right hand, we've broken out what has happened in the last year. And the last month where that line is really zigzagging, we started jumping up 50 basis points, then we would come down 25 basis points, then we would jump up. But now we're back to a point where the market has settled down, the Fed has had liquidity back in the market, and municipal bonds are back open for business if you need to refund your issue, which is all great news for the district because it just so happens you have this transaction that you could potentially refund. So what does that mean? Well, let's first look at the individual issues and see what the issues are. Page 5 is the amortization of the 2013. The transaction is scheduled to be paid off from 2020 to 2037. With interest rate ranging from 2% to 3.3%. The average rate of that is 2.9%. Now, the call date is November 15, 2020. So as soon as we can act on this, all we're doing now is informing and getting everything ready. As soon as you can act is 90 days in advance of that, which puts you at August 15th, and as soon as you can lock in the rate prior to that, is about 45 days from that August date. So we're talking about if everything remains in this perfect storm scenario, municipal interest rate perspective, of locking rates in early July to refund this transaction. So take this 2.9% off the market, and anytime we do refunding, we don't spend that, we don't increase your payment. It's truly interest rate savings. So we take that off the market. Page 6 is the 2013, same thing. Rates went from 2.3 to 3.35%. This transaction is a little bit shorter. It had the final payment of 2024. And again, when we include this for funding, we don't extend it. We still pay this portion off over the same time period. 10th, they on the 2013 age. Page 7 is how the transaction works if it were done today. This would be what you would replace those two issues, a new issue with rates ranging from 1% to 2.8%. The average rate on this transaction would be 2.43%. And again, these are based off the rates as of April 15th. So what that actually means to you on page 8, what we've got is that by refunding that old issue, replacing with a new issue with lower rates, what happens is it gives you at closing roughly $677,000. It will reduce your first payment by about $114,000 for a total savings of just under $800,000. On the right-hand side, you can see a comparison of the debt payment scheduled prior to the refunding and then after the refunding. So that first column labeled refunded debt is what you're scheduled to make. The 2020 refunding is the potential refunding if you were to replace that with a new issue. And then the savings is the difference between those two columns, and then annualized on column 4. And then present value, we just have to talk about it because if we were to save you $20,000 20 years from now, that's not the same as saving you $20,000 today. So we always talk about in terms of present value, and that's column 5. So in summary, you get rid of those two issues, you refund them with current rates today, it leaves the district with upwards of $800,000 in funds available, either in cash at closing or in the next budget year. As we've always talked about before, if you take the cash at closing, it has to be used on a capital project. What we might be able to do is create some more debt service savings. In the past, I know Dean didn't like to take debt service savings, because anytime you take debt service savings, it reduces your state aid in that given year. So to get the most bang for the buck, you would always want to take the savings at cash at close, and that's how we have the structure here. Now, there's a lot between now and July. The first step to move forward with this is just tonight. If it sounds like something that we want to enter into, we need to prepare documents, we need to get into the district. All this takes time. And it's especially a long-dated time frame for the waiting process because every district in the U.S. that has a transaction like yours, that's going to be refunded, has gone to the rating agency and asked for it. So their time frame for turnaround can be anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks. Once we get that ready, we prepare documentation, and then all of a sudden we're ready to enter the market on July. The only next step the district could take is to pass a non-compete resolution at their next meeting, which would be at their May meeting. Other than that, it's very similar to the transaction we did last year, just hopefully with lower interest rates. Information in a short period of time, so I'd be glad to open up the question if anybody had any.
John, are you still there? John? Lost him?
You cannot hear me?
Okay, we got you now. John, I thought we had that document, but when I opened it up, it's a 2-page document. We did not have the 8-page document that you're referring to. Could you please see that the board gets that document?
Not a problem at all.
Okay, so I know it.
Let me see.
John, I got
No, we have it. The superintendent has it, John.
it. It's on the agenda under, if you hit, B, bond refunding,
Yeah.
A and B are the two documents. A and B, if you expand those PDFs,
I only have one. That's the only one I got. This is the, this is the 2 page. Okay. That's not it.
it's on the
No. Okay. That's what I did. There it is, okay, come on. And we got it, thank you.
I'm not good at sharing on Google.
It's there.
Yeah, we have it now, thank you. You have anything else, John?
But, just the page that was focused on page 3, the one I failed to mention, we added to page 3, and we are looking at this, and we've been looking at this for the past 6 months. Your operating lease is now at the bottom of page 6. We do not include it on the graph at the bottom. But you can see that the operating lease actually, that interest rate that you're currently paying, the 3.7%, plus it also requires you to have a reserve of 1.7 million on hand, specifically tied to that. And we are working with bond counsel on different opportunities that might avail themselves to the district that would allow you to replace it with a bond issue at a lower rate. But there are certain hurdles that are involved in that. But I just want to let you know, we are always looking at that and see if there's a scenario that it would make sense to pay that off and if you belong to take it out, to just net it out. It's highlighted in yellow.
John, this is Joe Bradley. I have a question, and I apologize for not digesting this fully before we met. I glanced at it, but I didn't know we were involved with some continuity of education planning. On page 3, am I looking at the call date, the last call date in gold is 2032? And does that increase to 2040? Or am I looking at that wrong, John? So it goes from 2032 it extends it out to 2040, or am I reading that incorrectly?
This is on maturity. The call date is 7/1/24, the next call number.
Okay. Final maturity is May of 40.
But on this extra information purposes, we're talking about the funding, the issue 2013 and 2015A. And those call dates are 11/15/2020. On the far right hand side.
Final maturity on those is 37 and 24.
That's correct, right. And for the new issue, both will remain 37 and 24 respectively.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions from John? Okay, thank you.
Just the next step is we'll have Lisa Chiesa who's putting down some federal resolutions for your May meeting. And, hopefully we'll be there in person at that point, or maybe we won't be, but either way, I'll be at the meeting with Lisa with the two resolutions.
First, John, we have to vote on, the board has to respectively vote on letter B. I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. O'Malley?
Yes. Yep.
If they so do agree to.
Anything else, Sean?
That's it, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Panzella, would you mind taking over finance, please? Letter B.
Letter B, request approval of the disclosure underwriting engagement letter pursuant to MSRB Rule G-17 dated 2008-2020, and I so move.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
C for LERTA, request approval to confirm and approve the LERTA application of Connellsville RE LLC for parcel number 05-03-0110, 628 Highland Avenue, Connellsville, PA 15425, as submitted to the City of Connellsville and the County of Fayette in accordance with the district's prior LERTA ordinance, and I so move.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Next, request approval of a 5-year contract renewal for postage machine between Pitney Bowes and the Connellsville Area School District in the amount of $1,695.72 per year, and I so move.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Next, request approval of the budget transfers, and I so move.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Next, request approval to award the 2019-2020 tax anticipation note to Somerset Bank in the amount of $5 million at an interest rate of 1.59%, and I so move.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Discussion on COVID costs with Chromebooks, internet and internet hotspots, security vestibles, excess transportation for driver's pay, academic supplies and cleaning supplies.
Mrs. Grinnell, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. We have received funding through the federal act to help pay for the COVID costs. And we received approximately $1.8 million. We will be receiving, we haven't received it yet. And some of the items which we feel that we can use towards that would be the Chromebook management this year. While our internet costs, internet hotspot, the security vestibules, not only would we use that for security, but that is very important for maintaining social distancing. We have security vestibule. So even though we applied to get part of that, this is what charged to this. We were planning on having possibly excess pay for transportation for drivers. We're not sure about that yet. If there are any costs related to transportation, we would take against this. Any academic supplies, any cleaning supplies, we have kept everything separate. Every time we have planned in excess of what we normally would have spent for the school year that it relates to the COVID costs, we're keeping them in a separate count to account for them all so we can quantify it and put it towards that. So I just wanted you to be aware of that.
Okay, thank you.
And letter H, just a reminder that we'll have a budget work session for the board, and we'll be on April 29th at 6 p.m. Let's see. Mr. Grinaldo, do you have anything else?
Nothing further, thank you.
Mr. Mongel, I don't know if you can hear me. And Mrs. Grinnell, do you have anything else?
Nothing, thank you.
That's all we have, thank you.
Personnel review, Mr. Lake, would you mind reading that since all our committee people are online?
Food service. Mr. Maddox. Food service.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed one, food
Number
service,
15.
Sorry, food service, Mr. Marquez.
That's fine, thank you. We have no agenda items at this time. Mr. Penzo, anything to add?
Thank you, but I'd just like to say, they're doing a good job with the meals. They're all working together and everything seems to be doing very well.
Thank you. Mr. Harshman, are you there? Mrs. Basinger.
Yes, I'm here, nothing else.
Okay, thank you. That's all, Mr. Maddox, thank you.
Thank you. Personnel review, please, Mr. Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Maddox. Request approval to waive return to work after sabbatical requirements and accept the retirement of Serena Hoover, teacher, effective June the 30th, 2020. And I so move.
Motion second, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried.
Request approval to accept the retirement of Beverly Keffer, teacher, effective June 11th, 2020. And I so move.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Request approval to accept the retirement of Mary Lee McFadden, teacher, effective June 11th, 2020. And I so move.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Request approval to accept the retirement of Rebecca Dix, teacher, effective June the 30th, 2020. And I so move.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Request approval to accept the retirement of Susan Shepard, teacher, effective June the 30th, 2020.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Request approval to accept the retirement of Kimberly Welsh, cafeteria, effective May the 29th, 2020. And I so move.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Request approval for the return to work of Megan Nolf, teacher, as requested by employee and the building administrator, effective April the 27th, 2020. Such return to and her current approved leave. And I so move.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
And I'd like to, this is a rescind a motion, request approval to rescind the prior furlough motion at a previous board meeting and to reaffirm the board action at the March 25th meeting regarding furloughs, to authorize the superintendent and administration to effectuate any furloughs with accordance with the March 25th board action. I so move. Question.
Motion is second, question.
Mr. Wood, I don't have to pull my motion that was made before.
No, this motion would actually supersede that motion
Right.
in particular, so that would not require pulling a prior motion.
So the motion I got trashed about for the 30 employees, we're going to throw that out and we're going to leave the motion for 80 employees on March 25th. Is that right?
That's correct, yes.
Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Matt.
Anybody else have any questions on the motion? Okay, we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Montiel, you here? Mr. Grinaldo?
Nothing else, thank you.
Mr. Martre? Mrs. Coconut?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Bradley?
Nothing, thank you.
That's all we have, Mr. O'Matter. Thank you.
Thank you for your help, Mr. Blake. Moving to policy and legislation. Mr. Harshman, are you there? Mr. Lake, if you please.
Revised policies, I'd like to request approval of the following revised policies. First reading was March 25th, and spread those on the minutes, and everybody can see them, and I so move.
Motion is second.
I got a question.
Questions?
I'm not going to vote for this, and the reason I'm going to tell you is that I feel that this board is capable, if I had to bring up all my policies in there from the time I've been on, I need a postal truck to carry them in here so I can get them in the door. I have a feeling, I feel that this board is capable, with a little help from our solicitor and administration, that we could write our own policies. I'm not in favor of paying somebody $10,000 or $20,000 to give us policies when they don't have no idea what Connellsville Area School District is about. So for that reason, it's your roll call. You can have roll call, but I'm voting no.
I think I have another. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Question?
Yes.
I would like to put a hold on 005 organization.
A hold on policy 005 organization.
That's correct.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, Mr. Lake. Mr. Lake is okay with that. We will put a hold on 005. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Ronaldo?
Yes.
Mr. Marshman?
No.
Mr. Lake?
No.
Mr. Martray?
You must be muted.
Star 6.
Can you push star 6 on your phone, please?
Mr. Martray? Mr. Martucci? Yes. Mr. Mongeau? Mr. Panzella?
Yes.
Mrs. Sangston? And Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Motion carried.
That's all we have, I believe. Mr. Ronaldo, do you have anything else?
Well, I have a hold on 005 and.
Yeah, we got that, right?
A hold if you like.
Yes, so we got that.
Mr. Bradley?
Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Ronaldo.
Thank you, Mr. Lake. On 005 as an organization, the reason I held it and we didn't have it included in the voting procedure is because there are a number of committees that are not listed, that were to be listed, and until it could be worked out or reviewed, I would like to make a motion that we table 005 organization policy until a further date.
Okay, thank you. We've got that.
Mr. Bradley?
Thank you, Mr. Lake.
Yeah, the only thing, like I said, we just adopted a prayer. It was prayer in school, not prayer in schools, but it was religious policy, and I believe it was adopted last meeting. And I think we had a prayer club that we just approved not too long ago. And I just have a feeling we approve a lot of these policies that a lot of the board don't. I mean, the policy, some of them's 14, 20, 25 pages long, and it says different things in these policies. That's why I voted no. That's all we have, Mr. Knight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lake. Safety and security, Mr. Martray. Mrs. Saxon, will you take that, please?
We have nothing right now.
Thank you. Special education, Mr. Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Manik. Mr. Martray is not there. Mr. Martucci, you have anything? Mr. D'Amico, you there?
I have nothing, thank you.
That's all we have, Mr. Manik. Thank you.
Thank you. Student services, please.
Request approval of the 2021 school calendar. I said no.
Motion and second, all in favor?
No.
Roll call, please. Mr. Harshman, you there?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Lake?
I'm voting no, and I don't usually explain my vote, but we don't know what's going to happen in the next 2 months, let alone what's happening next year, so no.
Mr. Martray?
Mr. Martray, you there?
Mr. Martucci?
Yes.
Mr. Monticello.
Mr. Panzella? Mrs. Sexton?
Yes.
Mr. Granado?
Mr. Donaldo.
Am I back yet?
Student services. Yes or no? On the motion, sir.
School calendar.
On the motion for school calendar. How do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you.
And Mr. Granado?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Moving to technology, please.
Retirement incentive for technology department. Request approval of the retirement incentive for technology department personnel as proposed, and I so move.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Harshman, do you have anything else?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Grinaldo?
Nothing, thank you.
And Mr. Goes?
Nothing else, thank you.
That's all we have. Maybe it's my big mouth.
Thank you. Transportation, Mr. Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Romatic. Mr. Panzella, you have anything?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Harshman.
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Evans, you on?
I'm here, nothing, thank you.
That's all we have, Mr. Romatic. Thank you.
Thank you. I have nothing under the President's report, and we have a public comment for a non-agenda item. Aaron Zilbrod, please.
Distancing, of course. We have obtained matching funds for these parades for up to $1,500 for each parade, so this is a great opportunity for the companies. The reason why I'm here is when I was first starting to put this together, I really felt it was important to bring some positivity and joy to everyone who's been doing their part by staying in their homes as much as possible, as well as those who can't leave their homes at all. So that's when I thought it would be a great idea to hopefully get the Connersville Band involved, specifically the drum line. And I reached out to your director, John Finuzzi, a couple weeks ago to gauge his interest, and he liked the idea and said his kids are really chomping at the bit to perform. And I really think having them lead the parade would just make this whole fundraiser a huge success, and like I said, bring some joy and positivity during a time when there's just so much stress and negativity. It's my understanding that the idea was brought, and excuse me if I'm wrong about this, but the idea was brought to the superintendent's attention. His decision was to not allow the students to participate at this time. And I understand the concerns, and I'm looking to be the optics of letting the kids participate. If the thought is that might send a bad message that we aren't adhering to social distancing here in Connersville, it might be a bad optics to those outside of our area and possibly the media. It's my personal opinion. I think it's opportunity to do just the opposite. Mr. Utsi told me it would be very easy for the drum line to stay 6 feet apart. I'm guessing they could easily wear masks, which I understand they did when they recently went to his house to serenade him, as I guess they really miss Mr. Utsi a lot. I think it would be a great opportunity to show everyone, everywhere, that our kids are intelligent and responsible when it comes to doing their part as far as social distancing, and also to set an example. I'm requesting that you take a vote. I'm requesting that you take a vote on allowing the Drumline to participate in this important community event. I do apologize for the last minute request. I realize you have many other issues to contend with at this time, but I really would appreciate your consideration. I'd be happy to take any questions if anybody has any.
Doesn't look like anybody has any questions. Thank you.
Can we have a discussion? Are you guys able to have a discussion? I mean, I don't know how this procedure works, but I really would appreciate it if it could be discussed among the board members instead of just one person making that decision unilaterally.
This is public comment, so we try not to engage because of public comment. We accept your comments and we thank you for those comments.
Is there a possibility that there would be discussion amongst the school board members? Is this something that has to be discussed during the meeting and voted on in the meeting, or is it something that can be discussed and decided upon amongst yourselves during another time?
I would think that the board would have to consider it, and, again, you said it here, you came at kind of last minute, so if, the board can take a little bit of time to consider it and think about, all the possible options or issues that we may have, and probably get back to you later time.
That's all I asked, I think, so I just don't know, I don't mean to put you guys on the spot or anything. I mean, we're just a little pressed for time. Again, I apologize for it being last minute. I just am asking if that is a possibility, have it discussed and the decision made before.
What's the date?
May 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, there's going to be parades, just, probably an hour, 2-hour parades. Each fire department is going to be holding their own service area. And we're really hoping the Drumline can get out there, get people excited, make them happy, get them outside, on their porches, and making some donations. I just, thought would be just a great opportunity.
Shut down for May 8th.
Well,
Yeah.
you can walk outside, you can do a lot of those things. I mean, we have some lessons from the city to also do this, so I just ask that you consider it, that's all. I don't want you to make the decision tonight, but, we've talked to the mayors and people from the cities and fire departments. I don't think it'd be violating any state. I mean, that's something obviously you guys have to decide, but, your students were at Mr. Ritzy's house just a few days ago on their own, so they were, I guess, they might have been violating that.
I think the key statement, again, this is an engagement, but the key statement is on their own, not under the direction or guidance of the district.
I understand.
I'll give you an example, again, not engagement, but I'll give you an example. The PIAA has informed us, now that's athletics, I understand, but they've informed us that we cannot even promote or condone the captains of the sports going out and having a pickup game of basketball. So we're hard pressed to endorse other events. When that's a student percolated idea, and we have to squash that, and we're not even allowed to do those types of events.
For consideration.
Thank you, sir. Assistant to the superintendents, Dr. Jacob, do you have anything to add?
Mr. O'Matic, just real quick, for the GoFundMe page, if that gentleman would like to broadcast that on YouTube and on Armstrong, if he had the actual address for the GoFundMe page, we could use those vehicles that we have right now to help support that and show the district support by putting it on our YouTube feed right now. GoFundMe, I don't know where you would go from Googling GoFundMe, but hopefully we can be able to locate it from there.
Thank you. Dr. Jacob, anything else to add?
I don't have anything else to add. Mrs. Grinnell, do you?
No, nothing, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Superintendent?
Yeah, a couple things. Thank you, President O'Matic. We had a nice pool of retirees with over hundreds of years of service to the district, and I wanted to thank them for their years of service. And the service is irreplaceable, and experience sometimes in the classroom is irreplaceable, and I thank them for their service and appreciate what they've done for the district over the years. And I know that their students echo that, and their colleagues echo that. We were made aware today by one of our veteran maintenance workers, Calvin Trader, let me know that a donation was accepted, and I want to make the board aware that a donation was accepted from some signposts from Dunbar Township and we're able to install them right out here for some traffic control signposts. So the signposts were saved, and the immediacy of those put into action was also there, and I want to thank the Dunbar Township Supervisors for that donation of those signposts. Our community, and I want to speak specifically to our seniors. You know, we know that our seniors are going through a lot of emotions and a lot of turmoil in these events of the day that are milestones, whether it's graduation, award ceremonies, whether it's senior nights, proms, all the end of the year activities that a senior experiences. And we have had a couple of meetings with administrators, teachers, and parents, and students. And those Zoom meetings and those Google Hangout meetings have been productive, and I'm going to use this word cautiously. To me, they've been fun, because they're a highlight of my day when I get to interact with the students. And forthcoming messages about those events will be coming from the building administrators. They co-drafted correspondences for both buildings, for the Career and Technical Center and for Columbus High School. Those will be coming in regards to some of those activities, and including your prom advisors have been hard at work for alternatives, although nothing is set in stone. I also wanted to update the board. The board was made aware of some surplus masks that, prior to the issuance of directives for public wearing of masks, that our CTC nursing program made aware to us, and we donated those to Highland Hospital. Highland Hospital wrote me a letter. It said, "On behalf of Highlands Hospital, we thank you for your generous donation to our ER. Your support has helped lift the spirits of our employees and their families. Our staff is working tirelessly to ensure that patient care is our top priority, and we appreciate how much our community has pulled together during these challenging times." And that's from Vicki Meyer, the Executive Director of the Highland Hospital, to the Collinsville School District. And I want to thank the entire district for the support of Highlands Hospital. An update on our continuity of education plan. As you know, on the 13th was our last face-to-face day, and after that, we went to work immediately to institute our continuity of education plan. We had 2 days of staff training, and then we hit the ground running on a Wednesday with students. And the teachers have really outdone themselves with their creativity to engage with students, and I thank them for that. I thank the support staffs. I thank the administrators, the guidance, and everybody involved to make sure our continuity of education plan is as comprehensive as it can be, and that we are doing as much planned instruction that we can. So the 2 options were planned instruction versus enrichment and review. Last week, the state came out and said that those school districts that were doing enrichment and review, you have to move forward. We were already at that goalpost. We were already there. We were already doing planned instruction on the backs of our teachers, and I thank them for that, because I feel that doing the planned instruction was bought into by our staff because it's the right thing to do, and the teachers put that forward, and I thank them and their administrator colleagues. Lastly, I wanted to give two more things. Update on food service. We talked about our food service, that what a great deal. Mr. Panzella, commented on what a great deal. That great deal equates to over 30,000 meals have been distributed by our food service department since March 13th. And to me, it's noble, it's honorable, and it's the right thing to do again. And I thank the board for the support of our food service, and more importantly, those food service workers that are in the trenches. They're the ones coming and preparing those multiple meals for pickup, and I appreciate that, and those families. That's a great resource for the people to take part in. And lastly, today is Administrative Assistance Day, and I wanted to thank the entire administrative assistant staff throughout the district for all they do. In no means does that title below what they do. They're not assistants to anybody. They're our colleagues. They're our colleagues and our partners to make sure that this building, this district, the students, we all operate as efficiently as we can, and I thank all the administrative assistants in our district. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley. And with that, if nobody has anything else, I will have a motion to adjourn. Thank you.